This week,
just be mindful of the fact that there is a federal government shutdown. Unfortunately, it looks like from every indication we have in talking to folks that we work with regularly and other mayors across the country, congressional delegations and so forth, this could be a minute.
Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell is halfway through his first term. He joins me to discuss mass transit, the East Bank development, education funding, and more.
During the debate on this voucher scam, I said this would be the equivalent of dropping coupons, $7,000 coupons to Tiffany's over in Belle Meade. This is fiscal recklessness. This is more welfare for the wealthy.
The first year of the Education Freedom School Scholarships show, half the vouchers went to families with incomes less than $173,000 a year. The rest to families with unlimited incomes.
If the subsidies expire, it's going to be the poorest people who are most impacted because they're going to have the least latitude in making those decisions.
The government shutdown will result in massive hikes in health care coverage premiums affecting thousands of Tennesseans. More in our This Week cover story. Hello again and welcome to another edition of This Week. We get the views of Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell on the Music City Loop, airport snarls, crime, and more in just a few minutes. Also, a look at how many Tennesseans will face massive health care premium hikes due to the government shutdown and refusal by Republicans to approve expanding Obamacare subsidies. But we begin with Governor Bill Lee's push to expand the controversial school voucher program, which allows state money to pay for private school tuition.
It's about supply and demand. There were 20,000 Education Freedom Scholarships or school vouchers up for grabs this school year, and more than double the number of applications.
The only thing I'm not happy with is that we don't have more scholarships.
Governor Bill Lee plans to include funding in his next proposed budget to expand the program. And Republican Representative William Slater, chairman of the House Education Administration Subcommittee, is on board.
The story of one of my constituents, a family of 5, kindergarten student, they're first to go to kindergarten. And I know them well enough to know they probably make about $100,000 a year. They knew that the best choice for their daughter to go to kindergarten was a private school. With the Education Freedom Scholarship, they were able to do that.
Representative Slater says more families would benefit if they could choose the best school for their child. But Democrats argue expanding school vouchers, which cost the state almost $150 million in its first year, would strip public schools of more funding and bankrupt the state.
The mere thought that he would want unabated growth of a program that we don't even know is working, that we don't even know if it's having any positive impact on the students of Tennessee, we have no data. They haven't been transparent at all. Is just more of the same from this administration, the lack of transparency and more fiscal recklessness.
The data we do have from the Department of Education shows the majority of school vouchers went to students living in urban areas and some of the wealthiest suburbs in the state.
During the debate on this voucher scam, I said this would be the equivalent of dropping coupons, $7,000 coupons to Tiffany's over in Belle Meade. This is fiscal recklessness. This is more welfare for the wealthy.
Democrats want that money to go toward public schools, but some Republicans say making more vouchers available would help more students who need it.
It's no wonder that most of the Education Freedom Scholarships go to those highly populated areas. That's where most of the private schools are. It's my hope that there'll be more opportunities in rural areas for individuals to use their Education Freedom Scholarship in the years to come.
Now to our This Week cover story. Depending on what Congress ultimately decides, it could shape health care for some Tennessee families next year. News 2's Kelly Milan explains what a loss of the extended health care subsidies could mean for moms-to-be and children.
In the state of Tennessee, the average monthly premium is $74 today. Without the subsidies, it's projected to jump up to $160.
States like Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Florida have seen their marketplace populations explode over the last 4 or 5 years because of the creation of these enhanced premium tax credits. It's been able to make coverage more affordable for many middle Americans who otherwise may not be able to afford health coverage. and might just go uninsured.
And the dependence has grown fast. In 2020, before the subsidies, just 246,000 Tennesseans enrolled. This year, 640,000 signed up, and nearly all relied on extra help.
If the subsidies expire, it's going to be the poorest people who are most impacted because they're going to have the least latitude in making those decisions.
It's a fight tied directly to the federal budget showdown. Democrats want to extend subsidies. Republicans argue they're too expensive. That standoff could determine whether Tennessee families keep their coverage or lose it.
In some congressional districts that are led by Republicans in the House of Representatives, at this point, upwards of 10%, all the way up to 30% of their constituency is now receiving coverage through the Affordable Care Act marketplaces. And they could, definitely experience sticker shock when they go to shop for their plans for the upcoming year.
Experts warn as many as 400,000 Tennesseans could lose coverage if enhanced subsidies end, and the ripple effect could devastate rural communities.
If people not having insurance impacts things like rural hospitals and rural clinics, then the impact on those people is just going to be lack of health care, period.
If Congress doesn't reach a deal, the changes take effect January 1st, meaning this fall when families go to shop for coverage, they could face sticker shock and possibly tough decisions about whether they can afford to stay insured. I'll send it back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Kelly, and stay with us. This Week continues in a moment. Welcome back to This Week. Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell is 2 years into his first four-year term. I sat down with the mayor to discuss crime, education, mass transit, and the delays at the airport due to the federal shutdown and a shortage of air traffic controllers.
Just be mindful of the fact that there is a federal government shutdown. Unfortunately, it looks like from every indication we have in talking to folks that we work with regularly and other mayors across the country, congressional delegations, and so forth, this could be a minute. It does not, at this point, does not seem like Congress is on the brink of a breakthrough. And so, what I would also say, though, is we're very closely in touch with partners like the airport. We've done, kind of a metro-wide analysis of potential impact. We think right now, at least in terms of operations and funding, there's nothing that is immediately mission critical that we're waiting on. So, but if this lasts, if this goes through fall, you could start to see some impacts.
Staying with the airport, not recently, there was this huge backup. People had to get out and go. And that's happened a few times. The airport, I know, is working with rideshare folks trying to solve some of that problems. The construction out there probably causes some of the issue. That's moving forward. But it seems like it's bigger than a rideshare issue. Is your office involved with trying to find some solution so this doesn't happen, that people get stuck outside on the interstate?
Very much so, and you've hit on a few things. We've been involved every step of the way. In fact, we got very productively engaged with TDOT on trying to accelerate a component of that roadway redesign out there because, as you've seen, and I'm sure any Nashvilleian who's traveled recently has seen, the airport continues to grow. They are expanding terminals. They're, reconfiguring some of the on-site campus there. But I'll say too, and as I've gone to convenings with other mayors over the past couple of years, our airport is top tier right now. If you go to cities with, that are larger than Nashville, frequently you'll come back and say, wow, there's a lot of really good stuff happening at the airport. We do have some access issues. In fact, as I work with the Greater Nashville Regional Council, it's reached the point where regional airport access is a thing. What my outlook on this is we are very, very likely to be able to have by next year a higher level of express airport service for just basic bus transit. Something we've never delivered as a city, and this is a direct outcome of Choose How You Move. We know we as a city can create a better relief on access to the airport. We'll be working with the airport on that as well.
And some of it is, too, the result of the massive growth, the massive attraction of more tourists to Nashville. The airport is busier today than it was 10 years ago.
Every year I've been in office, Bob, we've seen sort of a year-over-year passenger volume record out at BNA. And so the good news is, People in Nashville are still excited to go use the airport to travel to other destinations, and certainly we continue to attract visitors to Nashville and areas just real close by.
The Music City Loop project, the state government announced this. You weren't involved. You weren't communicated with. Metro not communicated with. Sounds like they've got the right to do this, I guess, on state property. But that project is underway. You had some questions. The company says they've answered those questions. Are your concerns been relieved?
I'll say it's an iterative process. We treat this as a significant development project. It does involve lots of public right-of-way. To your point, we think most of this is state right-of-way. We've not reviewed detailed routing or other things, so there are still some questions out there. In fact, most recently, our Disability Advisory Committee submitted a round of questions that followed up on kind of the traditional operational and life safety issues. What I would say is those are our top concerns. We want to make sure that as they complete a project potentially under the ground, working with the state, as we stay focused on the thing that we know voters overwhelmingly approved, which is Choose How You Move, our transit improvement program, we want to make sure the surface integrity is good for anything we hope to do, for instance, on Murfreesboro Pike. We're in close contact with TDOT, but we are absolutely going to do diligence on behalf of the city.
A couple of weeks ago, the governor said that there was no discussion with the Trump administration about putting federal troops in Memphis, that was not under consideration, obviously, until it was. There are federal troops there now. This week, he said that there is no discussion to put federal troops, National Guard, in Nashville. Do you believe him? Have you had communications with him? Is that still a possibility?
This has not been a topic of the regular conversations we have with the governor's office. And I think, I'll just say, and I know that in talking to Mayor Young in his very early days in office, we got elected around the same time and started serving very close to the same time. He knew that public safety challenges in Memphis were going to be one of his top priorities from day one. Here in Nashville, we knew safety was on the minds of Nashvillians, and I think just like many American cities, you saw a post-pandemic spike in some types of violent crime, property crime. The good news for Nashvillians is for 2 years in a row, with Chief Drake's leadership, with our office's investments, partnership, innovations, we've developed an Office of Youth Safety. We're hiring somebody to focus specifically on crime prevention and violence reduction. We have a new co-response model. We've done a lot to improve response times, including emergency communications. Bob, on a year-over-year basis, right now, crime is down in all categories, and that is the momentum we want to see. So we're trying to make sure our friends at the state, our federal partners, understand that the scenarios on the ground here in Nashville, everything is headed in the right direction. Right now, the board is green, and we aim to keep it that way. We will have a new precinct opening in just a few weeks.
How much will that help?
That will help tremendously. It's another one of those points where in one of the fastest growing parts of the city in Southeast Nashville, the Antioch community, you will see response times improve. You will see more overall officer presence. All of these things that I think have been top of mind for not just Nashvillians in Southeast, but as we think about traffic enforcement, and then we're comparing all of those things, improved response times, overall crime rates coming down. We're also moving into a new transit security division that is funded in part by Choose How You Move. We've expanded with Dr. Battle's partnership with Chief Drake, new school safety initiatives that involve technology, but also an expansion of school resource officers, safety ambassadors. So we're trying to cover safety on all fronts.
Let's talk a little bit more about crime. You're 2 years into your first term. You're halfway through. As you said, there are great signs crime is down. We still have youth violence. We still have guns being stolen from cars. We still have assaults on Broadway in the entertainment district. So crime's not solved, but it's moving in the right direction as far as you're concerned.
That's right. I mean, and you're in the TV news business. I mean, you know that your newsroom sees the crime reports. I mean, we're a big city. We have grown tremendously. But we're growing our police force alongside that.
And stay with us. This week continues as we continue our conversation with Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell. And welcome back as we continue our discussion with Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell. You've had a couple of big achievements in the first 2 years in your office. Maybe the biggest is the dedicated funding for mass transit, the Choose How You Move. How important is that? Obviously, no one wants to raise taxes, but you have to pay for services. These will be new services. How important is having this dedicated funding to begin the real first phase of a dedicated mass transit system?
It is huge, Bob. And already before we get to the 1 year anniversary, which is just a few weeks out, we've already delivered the first round of service changes that are direct response to Choose How You Move. So we've seen improvements in service. We've reduced wait times on key routes. We're continuing to advance that so that we have a service that operates 24/7, 365. So we've taken those first steps in that direction. We've begun laying fiber. As we get access to that funding, we want it to be out there making changes on the ground. So ideally, at that year mark, you'll have advancements on all 4 of the key principles of sidewalk, service, signals, and safety. Next steps include this just over $100 million of that next round of investments. We're starting to see priority corridors. You asked about airport access. We think this is going to help solve that. We think that even by next summer, we could see express service out that way. You will start to really see, and I hope Nashvillians will feel the impact of more green lights as we get to dozens and dozens of smarter traffic signals all connected to our real-time traffic management centers.
Another big achievement, the East Bank Development Agreement. It's underway.
Yep.
The stadium is coming out of the ground and beginning to be topped.
Yep.
Now we have going to have something where the scrapyard was. Plans are in the work for what will be the stadium's footprint once that is gone. Where do we stand with that project?
So lots of things in motion. I think any Nashvillian that heads over to East Nashville right now will see the new stadium under construction. Titans are still on track to have that be the place where they play in August of 2027. We think it'll be open earlier in the year based on their time frame. And then you will also, fingers crossed, we will be able to announce something very exciting about the Tennessee Performing Arts Center. Oracle's announcement of a global headquarters located in Nashville. We're engaged with them on a regular basis and very, very excited about the vision they have for the campus.
One of the big achievements of that agreement was the contract for a century of guaranteed affordable housing in the area.
Yep.
There are skeptics who kind of say, this property is pretty expensive. You're going to have expensive hotels and retail shops. Can you have affordable housing mixed in there? You think it could work?
Absolutely. And we do this all over the city. I mean, in my representation of District 19, it was everything from very low income affordable housing to multi-million-dollar penthouses and everything in between. I mean, you can do that not just in a single neighborhood and still have this wonderful mix of uses. It's actually when you have this approach that has communities of all types living together, it actually increases the overall amount of opportunity in those communities. So I'm excited to see the first residential projects emerge from the process of getting the East Bank underway. And I'll say the Imagine East Bank vision that was established under Mayor Cooper with Lucy Kempf as planning director, that's still our guiding principle. And the collection of urban neighborhoods we think is now possible, especially with the scrapyard. My hope is that we get locals living there, locals wanting to be there, and that ultimately the environment is something very different than the entertainment district, for instance.
Outside shot, Tampa Bay builds a stadium and brings a baseball team to the scrapyard shot.
I mean, I will say we've already seen some initial proposals, and I'm excited about the neighborhoods. And if we have somebody who wants to privately finance a Major League Baseball stadium in Nashville, we might accept that visit.
Education always a priority for you. How have now lived through the transformation of the new funding formula from the state, the first year of the voucher program. You're beginning to see the effects. There's concern or there's talk that the Federal Department of Education may go away. That could impact funding. How concerned are you about Metro schools' funding availability when all the money keeps getting less?
It is a concern. In fact, if you look over just the past few years, you start to see the state share of our funding decrease in percentage. And what that means for us in Nashville is that we have to make tough choices. But what I'll say is Dr. Battle and the leadership of the school board and the school leaders across the district, the innovative programs they're doing, they're making those choices much easier by demonstrating results. For the past 4 years in a row, our district has been at the top tier of state measured growth.
Finally, as you head into your second and last 2 years of this first term, stadium will be completed. Oracle will probably be on the way. East Bank will be coming out of the ground, 60-story building going up in the Gulch. What will be your priorities as the city continues to grow over the last 2 years of your first term?
One of my favorite things we learned from the Imagine Nashville, that citywide listening exercise that was taking place as we were having this citywide conversation about leadership, was that the surveyors found that Nashville had a stronger sense of belonging than almost any other city they had looked at. So we want to reinforce that. And I think the biggest way we're going to be able to reinforce that sense of belonging here in Nashville is with a broad-based affordability agenda. So we think that Choose How You Move, as we continue to do that over the next couple of years, will help multiple households bend their cost of transportation down. Meanwhile, you just asked about affordable housing. That is going to be a top tier priority for the next couple of years. The Unified Housing Strategy recommended a couple things that we've already taken action on. We have that Housing Leadership Council that is going to try to accelerate us into it. We've created a position in the mayor's office to be a housing coordinator and a leader of that whole program. We are working every day on new tools. Even the governor and the state legislature know that this has become a statewide issue. They've introduced some voluntary incentives on the table. We've got the possibility, we're evaluating the prospect of an affordable housing bond. There are a bunch of different ways we're tackling this. And then fingers crossed, if we get the legal authority to do it, we're going to try to give Nashvillians some relief on grocery taxes.
And stay with us. This Week continues in a moment. I want to thank you for spending part of your weekend with us. That will do it for another edition of This Week. I want to thank my guest, Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell. We hope to see you back here next weekend for another edition of This Week. Between now and then, enjoy your week.